with us tonight is an independent researcher and sculptor, founder of the Aquarius, the Water Bearer website, and the topic this evening is distilled water and urine therapy. We will discuss our own innate ability to heal ourselves as well as the disinformation campaign about these topics. Please help me welcome Andrew Norton Weber to the show. Andrew, how are you?
Great, Kathy. Thanks for having me on. That song was awesome. That was a wonderful way to start the night.
I thought it was appropriate for the inward and onward. That's what we all have to do, isn't it? We're big supporters of the arts. And as a matter of fact, you're a sculptor and your wife is an artist as well. Excellent artist. You both are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm fully convinced also, Andrew, that creativity is at the heart of a higher consciousness, and it's not a mistake that you're an artist.
Thank you.
How would you like to begin?
I said we talk about the resistance.
Okay.
You had in your intro there, it said, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance. And that's literally true in a way we can measure via water and its effects on us. Two instruments, Kirlian photography and an electrician's basic ohms meter, help us to see a very nice picture and very useful at this time, the ability to create resistance to electronic harassment, scalar weapons, HARP, chemtrails, cell phones, Wi-Fi, cell towers, all that garbage.
Absolutely.
All harmful electricity using an ohms meter between your two fingers, an electrode in each hand, the more pure your body becomes, more distilled in technical and dirt terms, the less foreign objects that you have in your body because you cleaned out using pure distilled waters. The ohms meter goes higher, literally. And you can measure that. You can watch it, and you can eat really crappy food for a while, and you can watch your resistance go down. But the more ohms you have, it's measuring resistance between the two electrodes and how easy it is for electricity to pass through you. And when I measured them at one time, my ohms read higher than the double distilled laboratory grade homemade water that I had with me. I compared it to reverse osmosis water and to well water at the same time. And the well water had the lowest reading because it had so much dirt in it, so many other things in it besides hydrogen and oxygen. And the reverse osmosis water had a medium reading, and in between, it jumped higher than the well water. And because it had less objects in it for electricity to arc across, there's more resistance. And so the meter goes up. And all electricians know that distilled water is the only water that will not conduct electricity. It looks like it needs the inorganic matter to arc across, but why is it in itself that water will not let harmful energy through it, at least things that are harmful to us?
Right.
But at the same time, that same person, when your ohms go up, your conductivity to healing energy goes up, to prana, mana, chi, the force, light, life, God, whatever you want to call it. Using Kirlian photography, before and after pictures of people's electromagnetic field, the glow massively increases before they start trying to heal, and then once they are practicing healing methods. That's the first thing it does when you allow it to heal, is it cleans out, because it's always trying to do that, but we just keep shoving 3 dead bombs of unusable matter down into our stomachs 3 times a day.
That's a very fascinating way to look at it as well, because you can actually see the results.
Yeah, although most people don't have access to a Kirlian camera.
I would love to get one.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, the resistance, that's like true on a literal level. The more you drink pure water and clean your body out, it's very simple to do. In my opinion, the most subversive thing you can do right now is to clean yourself out. And the second most subversive thing you can do is to tell other people about how you do that, right? Drinking pure water. Is drink the purest water you can get. Everybody should, who wants to measure their water, the tool is a total dissolved solids meter. You can get one off of Amazon for $15. Josette Fuller and her husband Marcus are over in England, I believe, but they're now offering a free total dissolved solids meter with their distiller. If you order Distiller Plus for next day shipping, if you give them an Andrew Norton Weber quote. Josette, Josettee Fuller, and her husband Marcus.
Okay.
But anyway, this whole dissolved solids meter, everybody, because you want 0 parts per million, and that's what pure water is. That's what distilled water is, and they're one and the same. So that tells you how close you're getting, and anything that's up on that count, you don't want dirt in your water.
Have you ever analyzed your pH levels, Andrew, during this process?
I had never done myself. I used to do my well water. I had a little pH test kit where you put drops in, and the water changed a certain color on the rainbow scale.
Uh-huh.
But I've never tested myself. I've been pretty comfortable trusting how I feel.
Right. Listening to what your body needs is just very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's just obvious. And everybody that starts, even tries a gallon a day of distilled water for a week, they just feel better. And, it's obvious. That's what everybody says. It's obvious once you try it.
Sometimes I put a little bit of lemon in my distilled water. Is that okay?
That's awesome because it's living and it's a distilled water also, so there's no problem. It's a matter of make sure you get a gallon a day, up to a gallon and a half, as far as I've seen any doctor recommend, of any combination of the 4 distilled waters, and those are all precipitation, rain, mist, snow, dew, and fog. We can talk about chemtrails in a second. All live fruit and vegetable juices, raw, and urine, and all artificially created distilled water, which it doesn't have to be a distiller. It's whatever method you go through to make water pure, whatever method you go through to get it to register as 0 parts per million with a total dissolved solids meter. Chemtrails nowadays, I've never tested it myself with my meter. I should do that. But I use it to test my distilled water. But I definitely would, if I would want to distill chemtrail rain, and because it's obviously a lot of people's reports, you can just see how much stuff there is in it sometimes during times of heavy spraying. But dew and condensation are actually they are brand new on the hydrologic cycle. It's this big circle that goes on, and right now there's water evaporating off the land. At the moment of evaporation, that's nature's way of distilling. Most machines do it through a high heat method, which we should talk about. Make sure we talk about carbon filters later on, because the high heat method allows VOCs to go because of their lower boiling temperature than water. You need a carbon pre-filter because it catches those, and that's every distiller you buy always has a carbon filter distiller combination. They're always kept together.
I have to admit that I didn't know much about distilled water until, firstly, my mother has a CPAP machine for sleep apnea, and I began to buy it for her, in the grocery store for her machine. I find it very interesting that this machine uses it somehow transposes it into oxygen by using distilled water.
So just heat it a little bit and just constantly evaporate it?
It's got a little motor, and it runs. It's like an oxygen tank-looking thing. She puts it on her face. It's like a little muzzle-looking thing with like a breathing machine. And you put distilled water in it, and it transfers the oxygen in the air via distilled water to the machine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a prescription for an oxygen tank, and it's ridiculous because distilled water, pure water, is like 2/3 oxygen because the oxygen molecule is so huge. So it's like a free tank of oxygen.
Okay, then that's the reason why I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, that's why drinking it just infuses your body with pure oxygen and pure hydrogen, which are both fuels, amongst other things. But back to evaporation and nature's hydrologic cycle. The cool thing about that is that it's a low heat method, and VOCs and a carbon filtration is not necessary because VOCs, volatile organic compounds, their boiling point is above that of evaporation, so they don't ever lift off. So nature's system is perfect, the low heat method. So if you're trying to collect free distilled water, we should have wonderful conventions on designs, and people should be sharing. There should be a site for, I guess we need that immediately. People can share free distilled water plans and what methods work the best for dew condensation, because when talking with chemtrails, that is the earliest point that water is brand new on the hydrologic cycle. And it's all really just a matter of time. The longer water has spent in existence, the more opportunity it's had to pick up foreign matter. It's magnetically attracted to it. That's what it does. That's the purpose for it. One of its purposes is a constant cleaning of things, swishing away dead foreign matter, inorganic matter. So dew collectors and condensation, I know there's a guy, the condensation, it just basically sucks in the air constantly, and kind of like a humidifier or a dehumidifier, it constantly is condensing the water. It's a condenser. And they say, from what I've seen on the little news reports about it, that they even used the term distilled water in the news report, that its measurements of purity resembled that of distilled water. That's how they put it. So that sounds like that's a pretty interesting idea. Because, of course, the nanobots and all the garbage and aluminum and barium in the spray would not make it through that evaporation process. I've seen houses, it seems like the website is not active anymore, but if you look up the International Dew Organization or the International Dew Society, there's a web page of theirs, and we should get it going again. Or tell them we want it to be alive. I mean, just there's one photograph alone I found on there of a house. This is just phenomenal idea. The roof was, I don't know if they're glass or plastic, I couldn't tell from the photograph, but clear material separated, 6-8 inches or a foot above the underlying roof. It was a constant daily and nightly dew condensation maker because of the changing temperatures. And the beauty of that thing, of it being the roof, is it also is automatic water pressure for the whole system, and it's automatically warm water. Everything. It pressurizes it and heats it and makes it for free constantly. You got to look that up, and somebody's got to get that going. People need those.
Most definitely. Science is going to come a long way, and I find it interesting that it acts like a magnet as well, because everything seems to go back to magnets when it comes to energy.
Yeah, attraction and repulsion.
Mm-hmm.
My mind, always trying to further back down the scientific how and why of it, but I don't need to. Where I'm working from is because I've seen and experienced and read about others so many testimonials that I know that it works. And for me, the why and the how of figuring out is secondary. It's nice to be able to explain it as far as the simple, the magnetics of still water. That's nice to have that. But even if we didn't have that, everybody that writes the urine therapy books, the reason they wrote them is because it's undeniable. The reason why doesn't really matter as much. Then, like I said, anybody that tries a gallon a day of still water, just even for a week straight, will notice the difference. And people that practice urine therapy or that, we're at death's door and, they're racked with cancer, and they go on a 30 or 40 day urine fast, they look like they drank from Ponce de Leon's fountain of youth that he was looking for. And
that's amazing.
That's, not only do they vaporize whatever illness they had within the first 2 to 3 weeks of the fast, but by the time they're done, there's always a tagline. And now my friends tell me I look 20 to 30 years younger. And I have a golden glow around me. People tell me I glow. Just with the distilled water alone, the machine-made stuff, even though it's not as perfectly distilled as the body can do with urine, people are having complete fountain of youth effects. Greg Prescott, who runs the website in5d.com, that's the number 5. He posted pictures you can find at his website. I think he's about 50. I'm not quite sure of his age, but he had gray hair and he had it for quite a while in his life. But after 3 months on a gallon a day of store-bought distilled water in a plastic jug, his hair went from gray to blonde.
That's amazing.
And you can see it. And that's just not supposed to happen according to Western science. But all that happened was he made his body more pure, and the whole structure of the body is a conduit for prana. And when you clean out all the foreign matter, as any scientist likes to, they do not like to operate in a laboratory with junk on their machines. The cleaner, the better it works, and the more perfect it works. So that's the same as our body, our machine. And so all he did was use the magnetic power of pure water to rinse through his body and flush out the garbage. And then the water in his body became more pure as a whole. And the antenna fully functions. The whole chakra tube, everything just channels more energy. A life force is one way we call it, and it seems to be it does just what you would think it would do. It makes people de-age, and the golden glow, that looks like a fountain of youth. They become an actual fountain of youth. They got so much prana flowing through them that they're bubbling over. Their cup runneth over with prana just by drinking, just by doing the simple act of consuming 4 to 6 liters of distilled water, or any of the 4 pure distilled waters each day.
Very amazing. Rand, can you speak on that? Because, you're all about the energy as a Reiki master.
I'm definitely intrigued, and I'm curious, would people who do the master cleanse, it would probably be far more beneficial to use distilled water in that than regular water? Is that correct? Or?
Absolutely.
And what about adding Celtic sea salts? Do you recommend that or not?
As far as my studies show, those are all inorganic, and that's a real touchy subject. But I can't think of any other place in our diet that we ingest crystals or rocks. I've seen some really well-written articles about the horse licks, or the ones that some random deer tribes go to, and it turned out there wasn't really even any sodium salt in the salt lick. It was other types of minerals like manganese and other stuff. And there seems to be the accepted history that when Columbus arrived, the Native Americans, none of them on the whole continent used salt. And, we all know they couldn't hide what a beautiful race and tribe of people the Native Americans are. And they didn't use any salt at all. It seems like people retain water when they consume salt in a bad way, because the body has to isolate it in mucus or some kind of containment because of the salt level. And there's plenty of doctors who order their patients, tell them they have to go on no salt diets, no sodium diets, and they don't keel over and die. I think all the people who are adding a pinch of sea salt to their pure distilled water are undistilling the water. And the purpose of water is not to carry your minerals. You should get your minerals from raw fruits and vegetables.
It's interesting. I just came back from Sedona, and I have a friend down there who's been a healer for many, many years. And he showed me his distiller. And for the last few months, he's been distilling his own water and drinking it. And I've noticed he has amazing healing gifts, but they've definitely grown since the last time I've seen him. So I think that's probably a big part of it. So I'm very interested in this. I think I'm going to pursue it myself.
So you're feeling like you saw some true evidence of the effect of it?
Yeah, he's definitely at a whole new level from where he was when he left Vegas about a year ago. So
did you just sense more of a vibe off of him? How would you describe?
Is he glowing?
Yeah, I didn't think to look for a glow, but he definitely, there's definitely something different. He's doing the distilled water, so that's probably a big part of it.
Yeah, it's a subtle lift, just a kind of an awareness and a calmness. People say they become very calm. These are some of the first effects. They are able to sleep better, and they report as being subtle and relaxed. Anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, all the mental issues go away. And Lisa Harrison had asked me about autism, and she asked me to see if there were any autism cases, and I haven't gone through my books about that yet. But
I don't think it would hurt the children. That's for sure.
No, I mean, if it's that they're just clogged up with metal, which seems like it, that seems to be the pretty accepted thing of it. Then there's just no way. It's not. I bet those kids would snap awake in a second.
From all the vaccinations.
Yeah, because sometimes they do. Sometimes they're, they just all of a sudden they come back, and sometimes they just fall into it. So it's almost like there's just too much of a load of metal that comes and goes. Sometimes they're on the edge of it, but that's the purpose of pure water. And that's one thing that anybody understands. And I always try to say that, and even urine therapists say this, that and experts in the field at it, and that diagnosis goes out the window. It doesn't matter. The application is the same all the time. The protocol is to drink pure water.
Yes, the more we go on with all this awareness and awakening, the more I'm at the belief that convenience really killed our society and our health. From people eating prepared food to bottled water to soft drinks to microwaving things. We need to go back to the Little House on the Prairie days when everything was pure. We've become very lazy with how we prepare food, and it's just easier to go buy something or put on the tap water when the tap's full of chemicals like chlorine, chloramine, asbestos, pesticides, fluoride,
Fluoride.
copper, mercury, lead. Is there anything I'm missing, Andrew?
Oh my gosh!
Correct.
You probably could fill up a whole hour with what's in the water.
Pharmaceuticals that they
Right.
dump in the water is just insane.
Some places it's flammable.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I don't know how they get away with it. I really don't. But that's from the fracking, is it not? But still, it's got to be horrible for those people getting
Can't imagine.
It's like they're a cancer petri dish drinking that water.
Yeah, and anybody that there's no copyright on this knowledge. Anybody that can translate this into any language, please do so and send it out. Or, even if you voice over it, copy it, or say it your own way. Also, we definitely need it. I want to ask Santos. He should give a complete education in Spanish.
That would be good.
And get it to all of South America.
That'd be great. I just resonate with anything Santos says. He's a really good person, and he's very enlightened as an individual. He's going to be on next month, I believe, again, for the fourth time. With
he's great.
He's awesome. We just love Santos.
It's pretty amazing talking to him.
Yes, when two of my friends come to me so passionately about you, I listen.
Right on. Gotcha.
So I want to thank them for recommending you to us this evening.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, it's all common sense, so that's why it's easy. And at some point it'll be like, what? Everybody knows you drink pure water, so then we won't have to talk about this anymore, right? I mean, because it's obvious. Once you hear about it, it's freaking obvious, right? And you feel stupid. You're like, oh, right? Water in itself is a litmus test, and it shows who is in favor and or trying to wake this planet up, and it shows who wants to keep the planet asleep. Not only does it make you, it cleans out your system, pineal gland, all your psychic powers, you become more able to pick up deception and not be fooled by it. Water in itself, just by asking the question, is distilled water good for you? All you got to do is pose the question, and you force them to play their hand. Because there's only one true answer, and that's yes. And if you really understand the water, it's a very happy yes, because we could badly use it right now, especially having forgotten it for so long. But if you say any other answer other than yes, there's a number of ways they can answer, but the only one that they can say, well, I don't know. And if they say I don't know, then you give them the information. And if they still keep saying that I don't know, then that is their answer in itself, because it's obvious. Anybody that actually looks at this information, it's very easy to figure out.
Absolutely.
That you should drink pure water. They are actually arguing. Anybody that argues against it is advocating you drink your water with a little dirt in it. And I know of no other supplement that people go, no. Let me get a pinch of dirt, put it in that first. So they can also say, if they say no, they're either misinformed or they're an agent of deception. And if they're misinformed, you give them the information, and they still keep saying that it's bad for you, then it's kind of doesn't look very good that they're in favor of waking everybody up. And if they evade, that's an answer in itself. So I just want to put it out there for people to start asking their heroes and people that they listen to on the air to voice their opinion on distilled water.
Absolutely. And like I was telling you the other day on the phone, the topic has been coming up a lot more often in circles and on live radio shows. So that's definitely a good sign.
Cool.
Andrew, would you recommend not using crystal infusions in your distilled water? Follow along with what we were just talking about earlier.
That's funny. I mean, like having a big purple amethyst sitting down in your gallon of water?
Yeah, or just crystal quartz.
Yeah, it's probably fine. It's hard to imagine that water melts rocks anyways. So imagine it dissolving it. But it is inorganic, I think. So I guess it would start to eat at over time. But, I mean, you're splitting hairs now. The purpose is just to get water as pure as you can. And so, okay, maybe so what? There's some dirt on your fingers, and there's some dirt on the crystal when you put it in there. It still beats water that's come out of the ground in general, whether it's well water, mountain water, spring water, mountain spring water, artesian water. It doesn't matter. It's been sitting in the ground. And that's what you use water is to wash things, because it washes dirt away. So when you wash water through earthen dirt mounds, it picks up dirt. And we don't ever sit down to bowls full of dirt. So, but one crystal is different, and they resonate people's intention. So, but water itself is a resonator. Water itself takes impression. So, I guess it's all of your feeling on crystals.
Would you like to talk about? I know this is a topic that might make some people cringe, but we don't mind making people cringe here at Truth Connections Radio. Would you like to go into some of the benefits of urine therapy and how one can go about doing that?
Well, this protocol is still the same. Drink at least a gallon a day if you want healing effects. And so if you're not peeing enough, bump up your volume with a couple of glasses of still water or fruit juices.
So you can choose one or the other. It doesn't make a difference?
You can choose all four in one day if you want.
Okay.
Fruit juices, precipitation, urine, and machine-made distilled water.
Okay.
This as long as you're doing 4 liters or a gallon. But, if you're only peeing like a cup every 4 hours or something, then you're not going to get to a gallon.
But there are some benefits to using urine.
Oh, yeah. Even if only you're just using a little bit.
Yeah, so that whitens your teeth.
Oh, well, every de-aging effect you can think of, every fountain of youth type effect you ever fantasized about Ponce de Leon and his men finding the fountain of youth, and if only you were so lucky to have a taste of it, that's what it is. It's the water that you make. Everybody comes with a fountain on their body. And so, yeah, it makes your teeth white. And I got 3 70 to 80-year-old wonderful people here that I know in Columbia, South Carolina, and they've all had white hair for decades. And they all now are sprouting brown hair or black hair. And they keep showing me every time I visit with them. They're going, look. And they're even holding up photos. They can see the difference now of their decades-old pure white hair starting to pop and sprout the original colors.
That's very telling.
Wow, and so your wrinkles pop out. The body becomes hydrated again. It's just a river that's run dry. And it takes a while. People, a lot of times, their appetite for it, they feel, oh man, I can't imagine doing a gallon. But it's because it's an old riverbed. It's hard to drink at first. There's places that haven't seen water in a long time. But once you get the whole place, wrinkles are just lines of desiccated skin cells that don't have enough water in it. And there's places like that all over the body. Once you fill up the whole body and every cell gets to hold its maximum amount of water, like a well-lubricated car engine, they work at their full capacity, and the whole body starts to want that wonderful water, and it becomes easy to drink a gallon of water. And people easily say not only they go from having a hard time doing the gallon, they actually start finding it easy, and they move up to a gallon and a quarter, a gallon and a half, but they start craving it, and it just becomes easy and becomes a way of life, and they just clean out.
You become magnetized, oxygenated.
All these fountain of youth effects happen. You become oxygenated.
I just like to point out to everyone that Andrew's been on the road for a couple of days.
Yeah, I just got it. I got in at 8 in the morning from driving back from the World's Fair in New York.
Wow, I would love to go to that one of these days. I know you also have something coming up, an event at Mount Shasta. Want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, that's on August 18th in California at the Mount Shasta Resort. We're going to have a Distilled Waters conference, and there's more information at facebook.com/Distilled Waters Conference, and waters is plural, because we're talking about the 4 pure waters. We're going to talk about all of them, and I'm going to give a talk there, and then Lance White is coming, who did the original Fireside Chat series with me on his show on BBS Radio. He's going to talk about his experiences, 30 years living with AIDS, and how using the waters has changed his life. Anna Hildesmith is going to be there, and she has an ongoing diary using the 4 distilled waters. She's, I believe it's a public page on Facebook, facebook.com/Changing My DNA. And she's about 260 days on applying the method of high volume of a gallon a day of the distilled waters. And she's keeping an ongoing diary of that. She's going to be speaking, and she's battling type 1 childhood diabetes, which is supposedly incurable. And already, just from doing all this her own, she's at 1/4 of the insulin that she was using 260 days ago. before she started trying to use the knowledge. So, and diabetes is not a joke for the people, but the idea of saying they're searching for the cure is a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
And they know that it's not that the pancreas can't produce insulin. It's just clogged up with junk. The insulin ejector ports on the pancreas are just clogged up with junk, just like any fuel injector ports on a car engine. And when they literally stop firing, and that cylinder will stop firing. But all you got to do is run gas cleaner through the engine because it cleans out the deposits and gets out of the way. It's that simple.
Yeah, I have to be honest about something here. In researching today some more about your work, Andrew, my father was a double amputee before he passed away, and I'm certain that when he was in the hospital before he did pass, that he went blind because he was looking like Stevie Wonder, at me. He couldn't focus. And it kind of choked me up a little bit, thinking if I had known this information then, maybe he'd still be around.
Yes.
I'm sure that would resonate with a lot of people.
Yes, and it resonates with me. And this knowledge is also hard to know because there are going to be people that are either going to think you're crazy or they are not going to just flat out just not going to believe you. And no matter how much.
I cried and I was pissed at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Lisa Harrison said.
Oh, did she?
Well, she said she goes back and forth between furious anger and sheer joy over the knowledge, one, that you know about it again, but two, that it's obvious it's responsible for so much misery. And Dr. Mercola's got that. He's got that paper on his website. That's the number one hit when everybody searches for fluoride. It says it's always either on the first page or literally at the first hit. Early death comes from drinking distilled water. And that article, every day that article is up, people are being murdered by it because so many people just Google it right away, and that's the first thing they see. And that was written by Rona P. something Ziegler, I can't quite remember, but the name is on the article when you see it. But it's hosted on Dr. Mercola's site. And in 2010, he even decided to write his own bullshit article. And he's a total 80-20 deception agent. Is fantastic on fluoride and vaccines. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's talking about fluoride. He just tells the truth about fluoride. So of course, he's always fighting for us and trying to tell us the truth and trying to spread the word. But the whole purpose of Dr. Mercola is to be the front man for that distilled water article. And
is he even a real person?
But, oh yeah, I'm sure just as much as Henry Kissinger is quote unquote a real person.
If he gets paid enough to sell his soul out like that.
Yeah, and so, people should start flooding him with questions too. Like, how soon will I know I'm going to drop? Like, I know one guy that did that. He sent in a letter and said, I'm feeling great drinking distilled water. I just want to know, how should I know when I'm going to drop dead? And the little punk that answered from Dr. Mercola's office referenced the article itself to answer his question. He quoted some part in it, and then he said, and if that still doesn't explain it to you, here's a link to the article. So it's a totally circular answer, and, never really answered it.
Psychopaths are making the rules, and that's got to stop.
Yeah, that needs to come down. It should be replaced with long life comes from drinking distilled water.
I would love it if you would read what was found on that Egyptian papyrus from your website. Okay. That moved me when I read it.
Okay. Dr. Beatrice Barnett, who wrote The Miracles of Urine Therapy, translated this. And it's only like 15 lines, whereas the Shivambukalpa is 107 verses. This is just like 15 or so lines. So the first line just says it all. The water of life is given to you. Drink it and wash your body with it. Now, this is at least 6,000 years old.
Where was it found, Andrew?
She found it was given to her as a gift when she was in Egypt.
So it's not clear where it actually came from.
No.
But it's definitely old.
And the words themselves are, if you understand this water knowledge and what it does to people, and that it is the answer to alchemy, you don't need to look for that anymore. The true answer is urine therapy, but you can use distilled water to have almost identical effects because it's the distilled water aspect of urine, but it's just the body can redistill water to an infinite degree and create water that's distilled off the charts. But the distilled waters, pure waters, are the medium for light chemistry because pure water conducts light. It's why it's called the water of life. It's not that water is light, it's water of life, and they're two separate things. And life and light, and that's what water channels that for some reason it's a conduit for life force. And so this thing starts out with the water of life is given to you, drink it, and wash your body with it. So that's pretty simple. And the next line is given to you for your spirit, mind, and body, for the man and woman inside of you. The water of life is given to us to make us whole oneness in ourselves. It increases, this is one of my favorite lines because it just directly mentions, talks about the pineal gland, obviously. It increases the ability of the hidden senses. It's that line there. It gives one courage, strength, and freedom from fears and attachments. So that's nice. That's what everybody wants. And increasing the ability of the hidden senses would be greatly appreciated right now in this time of deception. And I think that obviously speaks to the pineal gland, along with all the rest of the glands. I mean, they say that's, part of the reasons the Indians were such incredible trackers is it's all the glandular system. There's even little pockets and air pockets up in the nose bridge and in the forehead that are part of sensing vibrations in the air and stuff like that. But they're all jammed up with garbage too. So you just get totally shut down your ability to sense the 3D world. So the water of life increases the ability of the hidden senses. The water of life will create a civilization far superior to the one existing. Noble character traits will be its sign. Okay, I'm down with that, definitely. This civilization will guide the sciences and the arts. It will guide the spirit, mind, and body for further growth and increased wisdom. It's nice to have arts up there as equal as sciences.
Absolutely.
It will give birth to the unity of both worlds. Okay, we're out of duality, back into oneness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the water of life will increase your love and knowledge. It makes you more whole. It will help you to be what you are, a perfect creation. That makes sense. I don't think we'd make ourselves all messed up. And then it talks about, in the picture, there's the god Isis, or Isis, the servant of mankind and mediator of the idea of creation, is giving the key of higher living. With spirit, mind, and body, we have to guide men and women with wisdom similar to that of a priest, teaching the water of life and the life principle for this world and the world to come.
There you have it. We're all alchemists. We just don't know it yet.
Right. And we have the elixir is constantly running through us. It's the only reason we're standing is because our kidneys are constantly creating distilled water to keep our blood moving, because otherwise all the blood and Crisco and fat and Crisco and animal garbage that you ate and sodas and high fruit, all that stuff would just, your veins would just totally lock up in, a couple of days if you didn't have pure water running through there.
Bruce Lee wasn't wrong.
That's right. Yeah, he said be like water. Yeah.
Be like water. We have to go to break soon, but there's a question that a friend named Liza just sent me. If you have distilled water but don't have access to nutritious food for your minerals, how do you suggest we get them?
I guess you would have to, you talk about zero? I guess you would have to search the local fauna for fresh leaves that you can eat. The wild foods are just, that's where it's at. Those are off the charts as far as their prana, glow, and their true mineral content. I don't quite buy this whole thing about the big soils. I know they say they have all these tests, but this is opposite land, and they love to scare you. It's so common, this thing about that the soil is depleted, and this seems to be the number one reason people bring up for doing mineral supplements and things. But I don't buy any, unless I'm going to eat it, like maybe if we want to have some nice blueberries on a dessert, we're going to eat the whole blueberry. I juice like crazy when I'm on my game, and I just go to the farmer's market and buy cases of conventional fruit. I don't waste any money on organic fruit, and I just juice like crazy because when Dr. Norman Walker, who wrote the book, I think, Live Fruit and Vegetable Juices, he lived to be 99 years old. I previously said he was 117, but that's a mistake. But he is guy that invented the Norwalk juicer, the ultimate juicer in the world. It's like $2,500, and it does the best job of any juice there is. I don't have one. I'd love to. But when he did his tests, he found the toxins would be in the pulp. The stuff that you removed from the fruit was almost entirely in the pulp, and the juice was almost entirely free of it. And he in his words, it almost seemed like the nutrients were allergic to toxins, and they weren't allowed to get next to the nutrients. And that maybe because those living enzymes are beings of light, and they're just monsters shy away from the light. All right, and but that's a tough question. I mean, even conventional food around.
Well, she asked, "What if you live in the city?" And I thought you answered it by saying go to the farmer's market because if you can't pick wild foods, you do the next best thing.
What if you live in the city? Oh, I see.
And then
Okay.
she said it doesn't take into account the winter. But then again, you can go back to the farmer's market and go to the grocery store if you can't have fresh foods to pick.
I do think, and this is hard to go there, but it looks like the evidence, because of breatharians, because of testimonials of people being on islands for months at a time on just the urine with no access to food.
We're actually going to have a breatharian on later this.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like that we can just channel that. It's truly pure. It's the prana that you want. And if you are stuck like that and forced to have only your urine or only be able to collect distilled water and not have any actual plants to eat or other things for any nutrients, it looks like people have the ability to keep living, and that it's really that all matter is condensed light, and that minerals are just different colors of the light spectrum condensed down into different minerals. And that your body has the ability to produce whatever you need by transmuting light into whatever matter it needs. And since you're just a holographic ball of light walking around, then that you can see that pretty plausibly. But if you're not ready to do that, of course that can be, that's terrible to be stuck in a situation without nutrients around.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good time to go to our break and let you get a drink of water, that distilled water, and let everyone have a moment to chill. And we'll be back in just a moment. We are going to listen to a song by the name of "Walk On Through the Rain" by Heidi Cole. She's another one of our favorites here at Truth Connections, and she actually knows Andrew as well. So it's synchronicity happens. That was not planned that way. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
There are things I don't want to see. There are days I don't want to be alone with myself. There are things I don't want to know, like how they run that show. Just why those cards are dealt. But I see it all. And I'll take the fall. Yes, I see it. I'll see it all. Yeah. There are days the deck feels stacked. Things I believed in are cracked. And the night begins, yeah. Though it feels a losing hand, I don't fold my card to take a stand. No, strength has a way of finding truth within. But I feel it all. And I'll take the fall. Yes, I feel it all. Yeah, walk on through the rain, don't stop me, I won't be afraid. Got you, I can play your game. Won't you watch me? Yeah. Walk on through the rain. Yeah. When your hands hold the dice, I don't stop, think twice. Oh, yes, spin that wheel. Though the game seems unfair, don't stand outside, don't despair. Strength has a way of finding truth, it's real. But I feel it all. And I'll take the fall. Yes, I feel it all. Yeah. Walk on through the rain, don't stop me, I won't be afraid. Got you, I can play your game. Won't you watch me? Walk on through the rain. When I feel the weight at the end of the day, I close my eyes, I hit my knees and pray. I feel the weight at of the day. I close my eyes, hit my knees and pray. Oh, walk on through the rain. 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 Walk on through, walk on through. 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 Yeah, walk on through the rain. Walk on through the rain. Oh yeah. Walk on through the rain. Walk on through the rain. Through the yeah, yeah, yeah. Through the rain, through the rain, through the rain, through the rain, through the rain.
That was Heidi Cole with Walk On Through the Rain, and this is Truth Connections Radio with our guest, Andrew Norton Weber, speaking about the amazing benefits of distilled water.
So, Andrew, you have a very interesting story about being allergic to wasps. And I find it interesting that I used to be allergic to bees pretty bad. Now it seems to have tapered off, whereas I only need to really worry if I get stung in the vein for some reason, and I haven't been stung in the vein for a while. For some reason, I'm less reactive to bee stings. I mean, it swells up, but it's not as bad as it used to be when I was a kid. So I don't think I need any kind of pen or anything. But why don't you share your story about how urine therapy cured you from your wasp?
Yeah, I think now if I'm starting to be suspicious now, I might even not need to do the urine trick if I get stung by a wasp, because I've done it 3 times. The body learns, and this is what you're talking about, is a way to completely erase allergies. And just so everybody knows, we're about to describe the way this works. Anything that's wrong and that information is in the bloodstream, when you put it in the mouth, it's the 2 lymph nodes under the tongue that study what's wrong with you. And so that includes all snake bites. You don't ever have to fear any snake bite, any tarantula, wasp, spider, scorpion. Any time any poison enters the bloodstream, all you have to do is pee into your hand or a cup or whatever, and put a couple of drops of it on your tongue. That's all you need, or a little tiny mouthful. But even a couple of drops will work, because the kidneys only allow through homeopathic-sized dots of everything that's wrong with you, and we don't realize how quickly the blood is moving through the body. In the real scientific manuals I have about urine and the kidneys, they say that the kidneys process 1,000 liters every 24 hours. And so within seconds after you get bit by anything, the antidote will be in your pee. So, I say wait, 12, 15 seconds just to make sure. They call those homeopathic-sized dots of poison antigens. And when you put them in your mouth, the 2 lymph nodes under your tongue, and those are the guys that produce antibodies. And the antigens are the same thing and or similar to when they try to make chemical versions of vaccines. They take a virus and they kill it, and they send its desiccated, its dead body through in little amounts into your bloodstream or into your body, so that your body, since it's dead, your body studies it and says, oh, okay, now we know. For some reason, that's how it learns how to make antibodies, is once the critter has died. Like even at the site of a wound, if you get an infection, like you step on a nail, your body doesn't know what the antibodies are, right antibodies to make, because it doesn't know that that it has to wait until a creature dies. If there's some bacteria or a virus or whatever on that rusty nail, some of your white blood cells have to die doing battle with the creature. And once it dies, that's information to the antibody makers under your tongue. And they are able to use that carcass to study what's bugging them. And they start producing the right antibodies that have the right information to destroy the host, the enemy of the day. So I am very similar physically to my father, and we both have 2 identical allergies, and one is to walnuts and one is to wasp stings. And our whole life growing up, if somebody didn't tell us and we ate cookies with walnuts in it, we knew, because 20 minutes later we have a mouthful of canker sores. It's kind of little eruptions are very painful. You know, it'd go away after a while. So it wasn't really that serious of a thing, but it was, you know, definitely didn't want to eat walnuts because it was annoying. But we also, if we get stung by a wasp, our throats start to swell up. We go into anaphylactic shock, and we get hives all over and itchy skin and red skin and start to die basically and shut down. And as far as I understand it, almost all of these crazy amount of allergies are caused by fluoride. I mean, it's just caused so many things, but it rips your DNA in half, and so your body's acting like it doesn't, like it's drunk, you know, it's out of control, because that's why, again, I guess renegade white blood cells start attacking the body itself, and that's like it's just, I mean, that's not cool, and so your body shouldn't be doing that. So there's something, you know, that's why there's so much, because people's DNA, those little hydrogen bonds, those ladder rungs between the double twisted helix, fluoride dissolves those, and your DNA literally unravels. And there's supposed to be antenna transmitter receivers, and that's how thoughts and feelings just ripple throughout your body. When you hear good news, or you feel a wave of depression, when you feel bad news, all those little antennas are transmitting and sending the message on. But if they're raveled, the information doesn't go up the antenna correctly, and doesn't, you know, it gets splattered out to the sides and it gets lost in the void. And that's, you know, kind of the basic thing also happens to ADD kids. They can't keep thoughts straight because thoughts get lost, literally.
That's going to help my ADD too. Nice.
Oh, yeah. It's every cell, as Dr. Hanish put it, every cell normalizes. And so even with people that are underweight, they come back up to weight. You know, water's heavy. People that are overweight, they come back down to weight because they shed all the excess literal pounds of random foreign objects they're carrying with them.
I find it fascinating that you say if you get stung by a bee or bit by a snake, you wait 15 seconds for
your kidneys to process the invading force.
Right.
And then they put the homeopathic, if you have the flu, there's homeopathic sized dots of flu virus antigen. They call it, you know, defeated pieces of the flu virus. That's what allows through. It may even be just the vibrations. I don't know. You know, they're just the ultimate water seeds that there is.
But it's amazing that those lymph nodes that are underneath the tongue, I guess you just let it sit in there like a little reservoir for a moment.
Yeah, I sat there for my first time I did it. Well, the first time I got stung by a wasp, you know, as an adult, and it started happening. It's funny, that didn't happen to my dad until he was an adult either, and it started happening to me as an adult. I had gotten stung by bees and wasps earlier in life, but never had these, you know, deadly reactions, anaphylactic shock. So it must be because from continued fluoride drinking, continued unraveling of the immune system and the overall functioning. Before I knew about this knowledge, I had to go to the emergency room, and even though, you know, you have been waiting there for 5 hours if you just had a broken pinky, I wasn't sitting but 5 to 7 seconds before I sat down after I gave my information. They announced my name, and they immediately rushed me to a room and had 5 doctors and nurses around me and they put oxygen to my face and IV on one arm and liquid Benadryl IV on the other arm, and they manually calmed me down. But this time, 3 times now it's happened. But I was pretty mellow about it the second and third time. But the first time I got stung, I was like, oh, you know, because I knew about urine therapy now. I'd done all this studying. It had been a number of years since I'd ever been stung. But I was doing some woodwork outside, and I uncovered a wasp nest in the ground, and, you know, just immediately got stung in the forearm. And my eyes lit up. I looked, I go, oh my gosh. I go, there's my chance, because I knew I had to figure out if I was going to rely on the EpiPen that I've been prescribed in case this ever happened again, to jab into my thigh and inject myself with steroids. But you know, when you start reading, when you get 20 urine therapy books and you read them all, and after a while it gets boring. I hate to say, you start looking for exotic diseases, case studies being cured. It's just so constant that what happens when people start either drinking all their urine and fasting, or, you know, almost at the same speed, a little bit slower, when they start drinking a gallon a day of distilled water. But this time when I got stung, I just peed into my hand. I had almost no fear. I peed into my hand about 15 seconds later, and I went sat at the kitchen table with my friend. He happened to be there the last time I needed to go to the emergency room. So he sat there with me. I had the car keys in one hand and the EpiPen in the other. And I sat there for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And I think somewhere out, for some reason, at 20 minutes, I spit it out or swallowed it and put in a new squirt of pee, fresh pee. I don't know. I obviously didn't need to, but absolutely nothing happened. Whereas last time I almost died. I didn't have a single physical reaction other than the pain at the sight of being stung. And even that, I put a soaked cotton ball of urine on it, and the most I ever felt out of that was 3 days later, a little itching, like it was healing, and it never really became a serious wound or anything. Nothing happened. I didn't need to jab myself with an EpiPen, and 2 and 3 times since then, I've been stung by a wasp again. And similar, it's just South Carolina's buggy like that. We got a lot of stinging plants and a lot of stinging insects. We got vicious fire ants. So it's happened 3 times, and now I'm not afraid at all. So I'm even wondering if it happened a 4th time. They only give you vaccines usually once, right? Because it educates the body to have, it's like having some software code to know how to defeat a certain guy. I bet if I got stung a 4th time, I could probably just go without even doing it, and my body probably knows it now. So I'll let you know if I do.
Yeah, you become your own little case study, as the ones that were.
Yeah, you don't throw away the document.
I find it interesting, Andrew. I'll tell you a little funny story. I was at the Philadelphia Zoo once, and at the monkey, where the monkeys were, one monkey was peeing into the other monkey's mouth.
Sweet.
So it seems like the monkeys even know what to do.
Oh, yeah. If you Google animals drink their urine, you'll see so many of them. That's a great one for people because, that's a good. I use that a lot too. I always ask about a lot of things. What do animals do? And they absolutely know. They fast when they get sick. And there's videos of giraffes, donkeys, dogs, monkeys, gorillas, all drinking their urine. There's a male monkey in a zoo shot somewhere. You'll find it really easy. But he rolls upside down. He's peeing right into his mouth. And there's kids laughing. It's really funny.
Yeah, the kids think it's hilarious.
Yeah. I've seen a video of a female monkey or baboon or gorilla, I'm not sure what it was, but it was squatting and peeing into its hand and repeatedly bringing its hand up to its mouth to drink the pee.
Yes, someone just said in chat, people think it sounds funny, but put it this way, when soldiers joked about peeing on rags to combat mustard gas during World War One, hello, Kathy, some laughed, and the same guys, when attacked with mustard gas, eat immediately and breathe that stuff in. She says urine is a neutralizing agent.
Yeah, it's like antibacterial, anti-poison, antifungal, it's anti-death basically and pro-life in a good way.
I have heard in the past that people have said, I don't know if it was from movies or wherever I heard it from, but when people said that you get a bit by a rattlesnake or something, to pee on the wound is... Well,
it neutralizes it at the source too, but you definitely, to keep yourself from dying, you need the lymph nodes and to study the creature immediately.
So could you do both?
Yeah. That's what I did. I taped a cotton ball full of urine to the wound to help heal the pain.
Okay.
Yeah. And isn't that what they do for jellyfish? Is pee on the wound?
Right. Everybody knows that one. And
yeah, sure.
The more you go around and ask people, the more you'll find hits of people. Give an old wives' tale testimony. Just all these different things that people used to know about you could do with urine. It's just ridiculous.
Most definitely. What are some of the illnesses that I know you mentioned a couple, but what are some of the illnesses that can be cured from this?
It is nothing that it doesn't take care of.
Okay.
Say it that way.
Okay.
There's no critter that can stand in the way of pure life force pushing in its face. If it is a creature of the darkness and you flood it with pure water, which is a conductor for life force, you can just visualize. It's a win-win situation and lose for the invading force.
Yes, there's a lot of people struggling right now.
The only thing, I've never mentioned this before, but I had this idea, coma patients.
Okay.
They should switch their IVs to distilled water or, in addition to whatever. But I'd be interested to see what happens if you gave coma patients a gallon a day.
Instead of a saline solution.
And, obviously autistic kids. I would love to see somebody that's got an autistic kid start testifying of what happens when they start giving the kid distilled water. People that we seem to, whatever reason, classify as evil. I would like to see them drink distilled water. Well, challenge one of them to do 90 days on distilled water and still be mean afterwards.
Andrew, for obvious reasons, I'm assuming that urine therapy is easier for men. Can you explain what a woman would need to do in order to make her urine clean enough to drink? Because we're wired differently.
Okay. Well, that's good you brought that up because
can't just whip it out and put it in the jar. You know what I mean?
you mean you're worried about picking up bacteria at the urethra?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I was going with it.
That's good because a lot of times in some of the urine therapy books, there's this kind of line that I attribute to people hedging their bet about urine, and they say don't consume the first few seconds of it and don't consume the last few seconds. Only catch the midstream, and these are both ridiculous. How do you know where the poisonous edge is? So the first concern is in the urethra and bacteria. Well, like we just said, urine is like the ultimate antibacterial. So if there are any, they're losing it right away. So you don't have to worry about that. At the end, I think they say, that there might be sediment in it. But it's all information. And all of the urine therapy testimonials, people in general are pounding all of it. And definitely all the survivor stories. And the survivor stories are always ending with the people having incredible, every illness they had before they got stranded or stuck somewhere without food or water vaporizes, and they have incredible fountain of youth effects happen to them. And they didn't have a choice to, just only catch the midstream because that was their only source of water. So screw it, I'm drinking all of it. And I've done it myself, and it just gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. So don't worry about it. I've done 2 7-day fasts where I drank all of my urine, and every time I peed, I just immediately drank it. So there's no different worry for women at all. Every men and women just pee in a glass and drink it if you want to do it. And it doesn't matter how toxic and sludgy you are. If you start drinking it with it, sometimes in 3 days, but on average, 3 to 7 days, people start peeing rainwater clear. And once you get fully clean, that's why babies smell sweet because they don't have any toxins in them. We need deodorant because we're always just exuding just a constant stew of foul sewage. When you remove all that stuff, the natural state of the human body is to smell sweet. And your urine, the prize waiting for you at the end of this is your urine actually ends up tasting like slightly sweet coconut water. Not lying at all. It's literal. And it goes from being this beverage, you're like, oh, God, I got to try to drink that, to this beverage like, whoa, I can't believe that came out of me. I'm like a walking coconut fountain. It's true. And the water, that's one thing you start to notice about water, is it's not the taste. The higher and higher and perfectly distilled waters you try, it's the texture. It's the smoothness that you start noticing because it gets fluffier and fluffier. Other people use that term besides me because it feels that way going down your throat. It's incredible. And no matter what quality distilled water you try, you won't believe the texture. I don't even have words to describe it. You can't believe the texture that you can get your urine to when you literally get clean and you've got that baby flowing. That's your blood is in a state of perfection. And it has just got mad out, full on life-conducing properties and powers. And any invader that comes in that water is immediately going to get its butt kicked. I mean, distilled water is used to sterilize things, so.
And I'm sure the more clean you eat, the more it's going to smell better.
I was just curious, for someone who's a newbie, would you suggest maybe mixing with fruit juices since they're distilled as well to kind of work your way into it, or just not?
No, that's a great idea. There's 4 sources of distilled waters. And for 5 years before I knew about distill, I was still fooled by Mercola's early death article. I had figured out urine therapy. I was a total expert in it. I could handle any disease that anybody came to me with. But it's really hard. You lose friends and family, and it's really hard to get people to do it. They got to be really desperate, have some serious courage to be able to try it. But now we understand that it's the pure water that's the common thread through these 4 liquids, these 4 waters that are all distilled. It's the distilled water thread. We got the precipitation, the fruit juices, all waters inside plants are distilled. And in the body, that's what the kidneys create is distilled water. You can do things like add juices and know that that's part, that's a distilled water too. And it's not just the knowledge of pure water. You have to have hand in hand with it the knowledge that it's the volume that makes the difference. I get no testimonies or phone calls from people that are doing a quart to a half gallon. You've got to have that river running through, especially if you're, decades and decades old and if you've got some serious deposits. If you want to get your game on for the Ascension and be ready for December 21st, you got to start hitting that gallon a day to soften up the old deposits. But do it, because every person that does it, even if they're just doing it for health reasons, you don't even tell them about esoteric things. They all light up, and they all physically draw light into and become conduits for light in this place infested with dark people that just love being mean to everybody. So, light yourself up.
Absolutely. As far as women who breastfeed their children, for a woman who can't breastfeed, who gets donor milk, could someone use donor urine?
You can drink your dog's piss and cure
Oh, my
cancer.
God.
I mean, in India, they bottle horse urine and sell it in sodas. Cow urine. But all urine is just large volumes of pure water. It's just excess water. When you drink a lot of beer, you got to pee a lot.
Yeah.
But the kidneys are just letting off excess steam. And it's all excess nutrients. It's the only channel that's not an excretory channel, but everybody thinks, they fooled everybody that is. It's an excess channel. It's excess hormones and vitamins and minerals that your kidneys selectively pulled out at different amounts to keep the pH of your blood just right. And it's excess water. And it's a control. Your kidneys are also controlling the literal internal blood pressure. So some people I would like to hear that know about distilled water, if anybody's friends with them, can get this out to them or, ask them the question, do you have an opinion on distilled water? David Wilcock, David Icke. My friend just talked to Max Egan the other night, and Max is in favor of distilled water. He gave a positive answer about it, and obviously, he and Santos are friends. Ben Stewart, he should know about it if he doesn't. He's got a lot of people that follow him, but I'd like to know if he knows anything about it or what's his opinion on it. Alex Jones, he's got so many followers. People should ask Alex Jones. Because it's one thing if I'm asking, but if everybody starts asking these people and ask them to reveal their stance on, and you're basically asking them what's their stance on pure water. But
I think they're afraid to just talk about it. I mean, it's a topic that a lot of people are scared to talk about. But
if you're spreading the knowledge about water, that's obviously in harmony with the universe, and
absolutely.
So that you got a lot going with you there.
I talk about anything as long as it's done with respect.
Yeah.
I think it's very fascinating that you say 1 million distillery tubes are in each of your kidneys.
Well, that just seems to be the structure of how the kidney works, is all these loops and things. Each one's called a nephron. There's 1 million nephrons inside each kidney. And it kind of looks like a distillery with all these, each one looks like a distillery with loops, and even one section called a distal tubule. I don't quite, so they refer to it as a sieve, sieve, as the perfect sieve or sieve. I'm not sure how you say that, but that's just the physical structure of it. And, and I just noticed that they even use the word distal tubule to describe part of each nephron. We're all actually drinking our urine right now. That 1,000 liters that goes through there. Well, you obviously aren't pissing 1,000 liters each day. At least 90% of it is actually continually going back into, that's the water that's been distilled is going back into the bloodstream, constantly coming in and going out and being put in a perfect state of blood pressure, distillation, and pH balance. The liver does all the cleaning. And when the blood exits the liver, it does not need any more cleaning. It's already clean blood, and that's not why it enters the kidneys. And that's why a lot of times you see on these drug ads, they have this little tagline. They say, and check with your doctor and have a liver test first, because they know how toxic their pills are, and the liver gets the heck beat out of it when you start taking those things.
Yes, medication messes with the mechanics of your entire body. It's so bad. And if people just do the distilled water, one of the 4 ways.
Or all 4 together.
Right, and maybe.
And in proper volume per day.
And maybe added checking your pH level into the mix, I think it'd be a win-win situation.
People are reporting more and more psychic abilities coming on, more clarity, higher intuition. At night when they meditate in the dark, they have incredible light shows because the pineal is starting to become uncalcified, and they're starting to see the light, the ball of light that is your soul. It's trapped in that ball of garbage, but as it slowly melts away, the physical body, called your pineal gland, with those rods and cones on it, it looks inwards where your ball of light sits in that pool of water, in the center of your pineal gland. And as you clean out all that garbage, your body can actually start to see the light. And that's what that light show is. And eventually people they see a burst of pure bright white, and then they can always see the bright white light. And that's because the pineal is completely decalcified, and that's a crown chakra burst is what happens at that same time.
Someone just said in chat that Morarji Desai, former Prime Minister of India, was on 60 Minutes, and he used urine therapy. He was born 1896 and died 1995. That's a long life.
Right. I'd like somebody to find that Dan Rather. I've never seen that live clip. I would love to see that. Dan Rather, I guess, had quite a funny look on his face when they're talking. So I was going to say about psychic abilities. I'd like people, one, to start trying to become more lucid at night, to command it and demand it before you go to bed, and even talk about it with your friends. And two, if you do become lucid during the night, because we can all be functioning 24 out of our hours rather than just 16. Those whole 8 hours, we can be operating on the dream plane and affecting change and speeding up the whole lightening up of the planet. Start trying to wake up, and when you realize it's dream world, start trying to wake your friends up. Say, take me to go see Sarah now, or whoever your friend is, chat, whatever. And you will be taken, if you're on the dream plane, your command is the dream plane's demand. And you can start waking each other up in bands and start working together to either free other souls that are trapped by demons. Because that one shaman in Ecuador told me that every night while I go to sleep, he does battle on the plane with demons who have human souls trapped in tar balls strung upon necklaces hanging from their necks. And that is obviously exactly identical to what we are doing here on the 3D physical plane, of freeing our soul from the tar ball that is our pineal gland. And so there's work to be done. And the reason everybody's dreams tend to seem like you're watching a movie or that it's something that you're a victim to is because you don't realize you can be in control. And you're never taught about it. You're never told about it. But if everybody was told about it, it wouldn't be like that. And so you're actually kind of always reacting, and you're kind of sleepwalking through your sleeping life. And other beings and entities on the dream plane can mess with you because you're not, when you're there, you're just like, they say you look like you're sleepwalking around. Mm-hmm. And sometimes even if you get taken, you say, take me to my friend, and you get also instantly beamed to where they are and you show up in front of them, you have to first argue with them and to convince them that it's a dream world. You got to do something funny like fly or make a pool of water come out here in midair and say, no, look, dude, this is the dream world. You got to wake them up because they'll argue with you and tell you, no, this is, no, don't be weird, dude. This is reality.
The astral plane is no joke. Chances are, if you wake up with bruises, you weren't abducted. It happened on the astral plane. I myself played that game with a couple of friends of mine. I tell myself before I go to sleep, okay, I'm going to wear this color.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see my friend. So I play a game with them saying, okay, well, I'm going to wear a color. Tell me what color I'm wearing the next day. And a couple of times they've gotten it right. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
We're all about the internal fringe tech around here at Truth Connections.
Right.
The mind is a powerful thing.
So the ones who are good at it, some people are just naturally better at it than others to begin with. They can help out by waking up others first. And waking up, if there's happens to be the first one to wake up. And also likewise with the distilled water, obviously there's people that have been very psychic and have been very healthy without distilled water, because there's people that come in at different, levels of ability. But you put distilled water, especially get distilled water knowledge to the people who are already super psychic. It'll blow their psychic powers off the charts. And that's what we need, is to keep lighting up as many as brightly as we can. So
we have been conditioned to be dumbed down and to discount our abilities for too long.
Right. So keep doing all the work that you're doing, all the yoga, the meditation, the intentions, the spells, the beautiful gardens that people are making, the spaces of love that people are creating. Keep doing all that, but infuse the water into everybody's life, because that's what we are made out of. And, it's kind of what you're supposed to have running through you. And it's not rocket science. Everybody knows, even through Socratic method, even if people are arguing with you, you can actually yes funnel them. And they already know that pure water is good for them. They just don't realize that pure water and distilled water are the exact same thing. And they've co-opted the argument by having that early death comes from drinking distilled water thing over there. Of course, they couldn't put an article up there that says early death comes from drinking pure water. Nobody's common sense can wrap their mind around it. But if you look up underneath thesaurus, distilled and purified are always with each other. They mean the same thing. And a lot of times on the gallons of distilled water you buy in the store, it says purified by steam distillation. So pure water and distilled water are the exact same thing. So if you want to yes corner somebody first and use the Socratic method, set distilled water aside for a second. Let's talk about pure water. Okay, let's see if we can agree on something. And you ask them, I think, 3 basic questions. You say, okay, first, can we agree that pure water is H2O? Then you ask them, can you see any problems with drinking pure water? And they say, okay, can you see any problems with drinking pure water in the long run? So they're gonna agree and be all happy and cheery about pure water. And then you say, well, okay, the problem, or if you then you ask them about distilled water, they'll generally think it's totally different water. There's the same person will say, oh, no, you shouldn't drink distilled water because it'll leach minerals from the body. And, everybody, they've seen the articles and they know, they've read.
Now, I like the analogy that you spoke of, how distilled water and these type of urine therapies actually break down the bad minerals that your body does not need. Can you go into that? I like your teeth analogy too.
Okay. It does it by simple magnetics, and people's teeth would be dissolving if it actually dissolved minerals. It actually dissolved your living minerals. If it actually leached live minerals from the body, it can't. It's physically impossible because of simple magnetics. The way they phrase it in the electrical world is that opposites attract. And the beauty of distilled water is that it's negatively charged. And all foreign objects to the body, even all viruses and fungi and parasites and things, they have a positive electrical charge. They seem to be creatures of the dark, maybe is the way you can put it, because they don't make us happy and they make us feel bad. All things that make us feel bad and are foreign to the body have a positive electrical charge. It just works. That's just the way it is, and it's wonderful. Although it seems like yin yang, those are black and white, but they are the opposites are attracted to each other. And when you make water pure, its natural state is to have a negative electrical charge, and so it's like a bag full of magnets that you're drinking. It's water that can vacuum. It has magnetizing power. It literally latches onto every single thing that's not supposed to in your body because of their electrical differences. They lock onto each other, and the water disables them. And then your liver takes them away. It literally dissolves them and disables their ability to do harm. And then your liver can pick them up and excrete them. And
Lad just says in chat that his dentist actually confirmed to him that teeth can regrow through remineralization, that infection, aka cavities, only set in your mouth when your mouth is too dry without water.
Yeah. So it keeps the life force around them when you got water around them. And people, I know this guy's been practicing urine therapy for at least 30 years. His teeth are so white, it's just ridiculous. And he doesn't use any tooth whiteners. He's in his mid-60s, and his eyes are ridiculously bright blue and wide open. And it's different from those plastic white teeth you see all these news reporters with. That kind of has this dull kind of glow to it, whereas these urine whitened teeth are brightly glowing, a bright white. And like even some of my friends have said, dude, he needs to cut down on the tooth whitener. I'm like, no, he's not. You don't understand. So it only leaches. It cannot. Everything that's living and supposed to be inside you has a negative electrical charge, the same as water, and sames repel. Just like when you put the same two sides of a magnet together, there seems to be this invisible force field. They don't want to go together. So it doesn't rip them out of your body. Like Mercola's article purposely tries to make you think. It just says, do not drink distilled water because it will leach minerals from the body. They don't bother differentiating between organic and inorganic on purpose. They just want to put an on-purpose half-truth sentence in there, which is true. Yes, it does leach minerals from the body, but to be honest, you need to differentiate that let people know there's 2 different types of minerals. It can only pick up half of them. It can only pick up one type, the inorganic type. Those all have the positive charge as well. And I've got, if you want to battle Mercola with real doctors who have the courage and are interested in waking up humanity and enjoy actually telling the truth, on my website, AquariusTheWaterBearer.com, spelled just like the constellation, I've got one section of 24 doctors who had the courage to tell the truth about distilled water. If you read all those quotes in a row,
thank you for mentioning that, because I forgot to mention it.
right, it's just a fantastic piece. And even the famous Mayo Clinic is one of the most famous health centers ever. And Dr. Charles Mayo was the man who founded it. He's one of the doctors on the list who understood about organic versus inorganic.
That's very big.
And
right there.
Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, the guy that invented the telephone, he was about to die. He was in terrible pain from sciatica and rheumatism. He knew every scientist uses pure water in their labs. I need a pinch of dirt in it first. Nobody does that. They use pure water in labs, and he knew that it kept his instruments clean. That's why everybody buys it for their irons when they go into Walmart. You just stand there and ask people, why are you using it? And they go, it keeps my machine clean. It's my machine says I have to use it. Dr. Bell, he figured, well, maybe it'll take off the coating that's killing my nerves with sciatica. And he said it worked like a charm. And he attributed it to drinking large volumes of it. And ever since then, he had near perfect health. And you see a picture of him in his old age, and he's just got bright, rosy cheeks and a full head of hair. His didn't turn back to color. I don't know why, but maybe he wasn't doing the high enough volume to access that. But he just looked beautiful as a 75-year-old man.
That's amazing. Oprah did a show about it as well, about how people that live in remote areas, and I'm sure there's some indigenous cultures too, who seem to have no health problems. I got to believe that they're using some of these.
A lot of them are drinking rainwater and dew. A lot of them collect dew that collects on leaves and things like that.
Yes, and when man comes and shows them their ways, they seem to start getting sick. So I think that's pretty telling.
Oh, how about this? How about everybody flood Oprah with questions about distilled water?
Yeah, I wrote Oprah twice about MK Ultra. I begged her to do a show, and she didn't get back to me. I'm mad at Oprah. I guess that's a topic she didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's too controversial for her.
Yeah, I mean, I hammered her with a really long couple letters, but I'm sure she didn't get it. Her assistants did, but I lost faith in Oprah. She just wants to what's ratings are going to be, but she does have a lot of inspirational things. So everybody's playing their part in the truth one way or another. So you can't even people who are doing it good, bad, or indifferent. They're all playing their roles right now, and it's not a mistake. Why don't you mention you and your wife's websites for your artwork?
I have to mention the detox symptoms, and I should talk a little bit more about carbon filters, just to make sure people understand that.
We'll go as long as you like, Andrew, an hour, in fact, if we'd like that. Of course,
okay.
We don't have to go that far if you don't want to.
My art website is AndrewNortonWeber.com. Weber has 2 V's. My wife, Susie Scarborough, is the one who has completely funded the entirety of this research. I say if anybody wants to support this work, they should consider buying a painting or a print from her.
Absolutely.
And her website is SusieScarborough.com, and Susie spelled S-U-Z-Y, and Scarborough spelled like the fair, S-C-A-R-B-O-R-O-U-G-H. I want to talk about detox symptoms. We have to make sure people know this is the only thing you could call a side effect, but it's only temporary, and it's something that you want to have happen because it means garbage is leaving you. But it isn't always pleasant, but it's also a sign that it's working. And I don't want you to confuse the detox symptoms with the distilled water making you sick or ill or, being scared by Mercola's bullshit letter. I've noticed people doing the distilled water don't have nearly as heavy duty of detox symptoms as the urine therapist because it's that much stronger. Its magnetic power quickly drops. There's nothing like a fresh magnet which got nothing attached to it. It's got 100% of its power. So that's what the body is creating when you start cycling your own water. So its magnetism is probably unmeasurable. So know that it can be as bad as terrible smelling feces, breath, armpits. Sometimes it can be vomiting. It can be diarrhea, feces that smell like petroleum, or just this horrifying smell, and black, dark feces. You can have rashes in weird places, pimples in weird places, headaches that just kind of go on for a couple of days or come and go. And there's different densities of deposits. So, something might happen 3 days out, something might happen 7.5 days out, and 21 days out. It's all different for everybody. It just depends on how much garbage you've consumed, where your body's decided to store it, and how your body decides to eject it. But know that they're temporary, and it's a good thing because it means that decades-old toxic sludge is leaving your body. So
I'm sure a lot of people are worried, oh, if I start urine therapy, I'll probably have bad breath and everybody will know that I'm doing it. But I have a feeling it's probably just the opposite after the initial detox. It'll probably clear out the bacteria in your mouth. And is that true or no?
Yeah, right. But I mean, at first, if you're drinking it when it smells like nasty, like that sharp, bitter, dark yellow urine, that it makes your breath smell like that. It's nasty. But if you hop on it really quick, and you'll even see if you start drinking a gallon a day, even if you don't drink your pee, take a look at it, and it's clear. And when it's clear, it doesn't smell bad. And when it doesn't smell bad, it doesn't make your breath smell bad. But a lot of times people ask, do I have to wait till I'm clean? And no, you don't. Your urine is always perfect for you at any time, no matter what. And so you can always start, even if you're 3 days away from dying and it's thick, bloody, and pussy. It's exactly the information your body needs to kick it into understanding what's wrong, as well as some hydration. And so in a lot of cases, when people only pee in just a tiny bit near total kidney failure, they give them some water. Give them somebody else's pee, or give them somebody else's or some distilled water, and they'll start peeing like a baby within that day, within hours, because they're just clogged up. That's all it is. And you run pure water through there and it busts it open. And you can save, there's so many people dying from kidney failure. So many, this is what you mean. It makes you angry and furious. There's so many people that are going through agonizing misery due to lack of water flow and the correct type of water, which is pure distilled water.
Such a simple fix too.
Right. But it's what we need. And I guess it's lovely that it's the age of Aquarius and it makes sense of the water. I don't know how we lost it. Let's try not to forget this again. Okay, gang?
Most definitely. I hope we can spread the word for you today. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I could mention carbon filters.
Please do.
That's another thing that you can easily see what an agent of deception quote unquote, Dr. Mercola is. In his 2010 article that he wrote about why distilled water is horrifying for you, one of his little sections was about how that VOCs, volatile organic compounds, get into distilled water and they actually concentrate the amount of them. Well, you can't find a distiller manufacturer that doesn't include carbon filtration into the system design. It's a known fact about high heat method of distillation, and it's not a factor if you use low heat distillers, Mercola. But in his article, one of his whole rants and paragraphs is about proving how awful distilled water is that, these chloramines and different things that are VOCs, how their levels get concentrated when you run that water that has them through a distiller. And yes, this would be true if you weren't using a carbon filter. And that's the reason people they all come with them. Even the crappy little $100 and $200 distillers come with a little carbon filter that you attach to it because it's such a known fact about distillers. And for somebody to claim that he's writing the most thoroughly ever, obviously he thinks he is, and it was all pretend, but he's exposed to the lie that he's just researched distilled water so much that he knows so much about it and that it'll kill you and early death comes from it. It's impossible to miss the fact that all distillers know about this and include carbon filtration in the system. So, it's not a concern.
It's about the money. Follow the money.
No, it's not about that. He works for the UN. It's about he hates you and he wants to kill you. It's about killing people.
I was referring to the bottled water sales and the water company sales.
But they're all quoting from Mercola. They all get it from either his paper or one written by the UN, who, obviously has the global depopulation program in process. They had a doctor write a paper in '94, same exact thing, and they wouldn't even call it distilled water. He called the paper, you can look this up, he worked for the WHO, and that's who he wrote it for, which is obviously in on killing and maiming and destroying all humans. The WHO had the paper they call it demineralized water. They want to put a negative tint and focus on this bogus science half-truth lie that it leaches good minerals from the body, which is scientifically impossible for it to do. They call it demineralized water. In that paper, too, they say, don't drink it. It'll leach minerals from the body. And a few sentences later, they calmly recommended, you should add some salts to your water too, by the way, like including fluoride. They just kind of calmly throw that in there. So that's the WHO recommending you put fluoride in your water in the same exact article, but telling you that distilled water, which is known to be the same thing as pure water, they're telling you it will kill you and that it's bad for you.
I wrote all over my daughter's dental chart they are to absolutely use no fluoride or mercury of any kind, and the nurse and the doctor looked at me like I was crazy.
They're all fooled. They don't know. They're all fooled. It's all being, the Rockefeller Foundation controls the curriculum in school. If you don't follow the line, you don't get your funding. They're all controlling this, and that's doctors. It's not their fault. They don't know. But I would like to bring up Hippocrates because that just wonderfully rolls with the proof with urine therapy. Every doctor takes a Hippocratic oath. Isn't that part of it, to do no harm? But I guess they're missing that point there.
Yep.
But two of Hippocrates' most famous lines were, one is, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. But even more to the point is the one where he says only the body can heal the body. That is urine therapy to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Your own tea. Drink it up. Cheers.
I haven't done it yet, but I'm definitely going to drink more distilled water and take it from there.
Do the volume. You've got to get the volume. And as soon as you do it, like within 3 days, you'll just, oh my God, I can't believe I did. You'll feel this energy. Everybody reports more energy in either 1 day to 3 days when you get that volume going through. And immediately you start becoming moist. Your skin takes on a moist sheen to it. It's unmistakable. It happens right away.
And I can't wait to tie some of this in with our breatharian show.
I know. And you know what? I've never seen the twain meet so far. I'd love to see if you can do that, because I have breatharian books, and none of them talk about urine other than it being a waste product. And all the distilled water books never talk about urine other than being a waste product. And all the urine books never talk about distilled water as being, what water you should drink. In fact, the most awesome book there is, The Water of Life by John Armstrong, in my opinion. There's a free PDF available to see it on my website, Aquarius the Water Bearer. He recommends, because he's writing it back, I think it was in the 50s or 70s, he recommends using tap water. And that's what he had his people drink, was tap water during their fast. So he didn't even know about distilled water.
Andrew, when he's on, I will send you the link, and you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I'd like to see, a lot of the breatharians that I've seen so far tend to be really skinny. I'd like to see what happens with a breatharian that's pounding a gallon of distilled water a day. I bet you could easily be a buff, weightlifting breatharian.
Well, this guy is named Genesis Sunfire. Look up some of his information on YouTube. He's done some things before. And he's small, but he is ripped. I mean, he's cut.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome.
He's chiseled.
Well, he's proven it anyways. He's just living on pure prana.
He is lean and chiseled. He is not.
See right there. He's not even take mineral supplements to the girl that asked before. I mean, that's, call in and ask him that same question. What do I do if there's no nutrients around?
It's pretty cool to merge that information. So I'm going to send you that link when the show is.
Yeah. Well, I'd really like to see though is I'd like to see a breatharian that drinks urine, because that's technically different. Breatharians want to be just breathing, right, and get all their prana.
I will hook you up with him on Facebook.
Well, hang on. What I'm saying is, okay, cool. They don't want to take in any external things to exist with, right? They just want to breathe. But urine isn't an external thing, really. I mean, it just came out of you, and obviously you drink it back in, you're creating this loop. So how does that technically qualify? Not if you're a urine drinking breatharian, because it's not really an external source. Right. And I would think that would if he's not doing that, I would love to see a breatharian try that and see if it blows their powers just into the stratosphere.
Maybe so.
We could light up some massive light bulbs on this planet.
The circle of life.
Well, Magenta Pixley, she had a great little video called "The Urine Therapy and Ascension." It's on my website too. And when she first said that, I just immediately knew it was true, and it blew my mind. It was fantastic. She pointed out that when you drink your urine, she said it this way, that it activates your Merkaba. And I realized by thinking about the physical path that the water takes, when you pee into a cup and then bring it up to your mouth and drink it, you are creating a physical circle, and the water is actually following the same path that your Merkaba Taurus energy shape takes. down the center and out and up and back down through the head, right? Over and
That's
over.
why I mentioned it.
And so that's probably why it helps to fire up the Merkaba, because you're looping this prana-conducting mass of water around your body. Fantastic.
You just had a light bulb moment, I think.
Yeah.
To quote Oprah.
Yeah. Back to Oprah. Oh, no.
Is there anything else? I'm trying to remember. I have some notes here, but everything's running together at this point. Is there anything else we didn't mention?
There's probably a lot. And
Okay.
this is I love the energy of this conversation. It's been going really well, and it's been very easy to talk with you, and you're very open, and both of you guys are wonderful to chat with. And I appreciate you guys being receptive and making this knowledge spread, because we obviously are counting up the monkeys as we speak, and we are obviously either it seems to be getting easier to spread this knowledge, and the fact that people are hearing more about it on interviews, I think that the monkey is popping right now, that 100th monkey, and we're reaching that critical mass where all of a sudden people don't even have to be told about it. They start remembering, they start, a knowing happens, and that's what we want. As soon as that happens, and, maybe it's in process right now, whew, I mean, everybody that starts doing this, get ready to be a fifth dimensional psychic superhero, because that's what we all have the ability to be.
Yay, us.
All right.
Yay, team. If I understand it, the way that you're really fifth dimensionally operational is when both eyeballs are going. You're operating with your 3D vision intake as well as full-on third eye intake. And I've heard, I can't remember where, somebody said that when you got all three eyeballs working, that's what gives you fifth dimensional vision.
I love
and so that's just a matter of cracking the pineal and plus all the practice everybody's doing about meditating and taking the time to actually feel it and sense it and spend time in the dark looking at it.
Your third eye will not let you down.
Right. I guess I'd like to mention inner sun gazing. If we are a star, we are a soul, a ball of light, and then you can see that white light. Well, this helps to also describe that we are literal gods, because your general picture of a god that ever you knew as a superhero cartoon, or even Thor and Odin or whoever, or God or every one of them, they're always all powerful. The thing is, the common thread between them is they don't need anything from anybody. They can hang out anywhere forever. They don't need anything from anybody, right? Well, now we're finding we have the ability to loop our own water. And it even looks like the body's a water condenser, because people go, they would think, people always say, well, don't you sweat it out and lose water? But no, the sweating goes both ways. I mean, the breathing goes both ways. So it looks like the body is a water condenser and the bladder is a cistern. And so people go for months and months on it when they're stranded. So you have this constant infinite water supply. And now it turns out when we can see our pineals again, your physical body can look at your soul, the star that you are, and sun gaze upon yourself and do your own recycling of your own fire.
That's pretty groovy.
We have access to unlimited water and unlimited fire. That kind of spells God to me, right?
Absolutely. Our DNA muscle memory is going to kick back in. I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah, and your sound that you are knows, even if your DNA are busted, I think that's why all cells normalize, because they say in ancient Atlantis people could hear each other, especially when they had their senses fully on, but they knew who was coming because they could hear their sound first. And everybody has their own unique sound that is the shape that you are, because in cymatics, the higher they turn up the frequency when you put the sand or salt on the plate and they turn on the speaker. Have you ever seen pictures of cymatics, spelled with a CYMATICS? Mm-hmm. The higher the frequency, the more complex is this sacred geometric form. And then when you tone back down the frequency, it resorts back to whatever the simpler geometric patterns were. So obviously all scales are infinite. So all we each are is a form higher up on that sacred geometric scale. That's why we are built with sacred geometry. And so we are each resonating as a unique sound to our perfectly unique shape. So we got that going for us.
Absolutely. You've been a great guest, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Yes, you have.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate the opportunity. And
no problem. It's our pleasure.
Let's all become fifth dimensional psychic superheroes together.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a plan.
And we don't have to do battle for long. We got a bunch of crud around the corners. Mm-hmm. Then we can, even now, concentrate more on all of our spaces of love. And we're going to create some kick-ass paradise here. So this is going to be fun. I'm very excited, and I feel very good about the way things are going.
Let the Jedi powers commence.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you mention your site one more time, Andrew, in closing?
Okay, it's AquariusTheWaterBear.com, and if you're interested in going to the Distilled Waters Conference, I made it a public page. It's Facebook.com/Distilled Waters Conference.
Do you have anything in closing, Rand, that you'd like to ask before you go?
No, I'm just excited to be the Jedi that I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can feel it.
Because Jedi boys
really,
are sexy.
It really resonates.
Right? It's all
Thank
common
you so
sense,
much.
isn't it? Doesn't it make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sirree. Okay, at this time, I would like to say thank you, everyone, for being with us this evening, and please keep coming back. And you're more than welcome to join our Truth Connections page on Facebook, or friend Andrew on Facebook, for that matter. I would also like to say you're more than welcome to check out our truthconnections.wordpress.com website. Our ending song this evening is called Peace by Millicent Cummings. And in closing, I just want to say the world would not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything about it. That was Albert Einstein. Everybody have a great night. Peace and God bless.